Check and correct your work as I review these problems with you. Remember, you can pause and rewind the video as needed, so there's no need to rush. Okay, we're starting with problem 12 on page 59. Mrs. Cohen bought 15 meters of string. She used 2 5/10 meters to tie a package. Then, she cut the remainder into 6 equal pieces. Find the length of each piece. Give the answer in meters correct to 1 decimal place. Whenever we're solving word problems, the first thing we want to do is pay close attention to what we're being asked. In this problem, we're being asked to find the length of each piece. So I'm going to write my sentence on the bottom. Each piece was blank meters. Now I'm going to show my understanding by creating a bar model to represent the information in this word problem. The first thing we're told is that Mrs. Cohen bought 15 meters of string. So I'm going to draw a bar to represent all of the string that Mrs. Cohen bought. She bought 15 meters. We're also told that she used 2/5 meters to tie a package. So I'm going to draw a line over here that represents 2 5/10 meters. So now I have a unit that is about a sixth of my bar that represents 2 5/10 meters. Remember, you want to chunk the information. So notice that I didn't put the line at the halfway point of the bar because 2 5/10 would not be half of 15. So it doesn't have to be exact, but you should try your best to estimate so that it's chunked to represent the problem given. So I have drawn a line over here and written 2 5/10 meters. And now I can take a look at this next line of information. It says, then she cut the remainder into 6 equal pieces. So the remainder is this yellow bar here, everything that is left over. And we're told that she cuts this into 6 equal pieces. So I'm going to break that into 6 equal parts. I want to find the length of each piece. So that means that I want to know one of those yellow units. So I'll draw a bracket and add my question mark. Now I can solve. I want to find the question mark. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is take away 2 5/10 from 15. That will leave me just with the remainder. And then I can find the question mark. I can find that one unit by dividing the remainder by 6. So let's go ahead and do that together. Our first step is going to be to subtract 2 5/10 from 15. Remember, when we add and subtract decimals, our decimal point has to be aligned. So in order to subtract, I had to add a decimal point in 15 and a 0 in the tenths place. If you subtracted correctly, you got 12 5/10 meters. Now that is the remainder, so all of the yellow on that bar. Now I just want to find one out of 6 pieces, and they're all equal pieces. So I can find one of those parts by dividing 12 5/10 by 6. So our second step is to take 12 5/10 and divide that by 6. Now I'm going to divide. 6 goes into 12 2 times. We multiply and subtract. I now need to add a decimal into my quotient, and I can bring down the 5. 6 can't go into 5, so I'll put a 0 above the 5. I can now add another 0 and bring that down. 6 goes into 50, a total of 8 times without going over. And now I can stop. I was asked to give the answer in meters correct to 1 decimal place. The 1 decimal place is the tenths, so I can now round. 2 8/100, if rounded to the tenths place, would be 2 1/10 meters. So I can cross off my question mark and write in 2 1/10 meters, which is the answer. And now I can put that into my sentence, 2 1/10 meters. So now I can put that into my sentence. Each piece was 2 1/10 meters. And before I go on to the next problem, we should always check to see if this seems reasonable. So I'm just going to estimate to see if I get close to 15 here. 2 5/10 is close to 3. 2 1/10 is close to 2. So that means that each of these yellow units is 2. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And this one we said was close to 3. 12 and 3 is 15. Yes, that seems reasonable. If you had accidentally done your math wrong here and written 21, for example, if you checked to see if it was reasonable at the end when you wrote it in the sentence, you would have noticed right away that something seemed off. So don't forget that step. It's an important one. On to problem 13. Mrs. Smith used 3/8 of a bag of flour to bake cakes and 1/5 of the remainder to bake biscuits. What fraction of the flour did she use altogether? On the bottom, I've written she used blank of the flour altogether. And now I'm going to draw a bar model to represent the information provided in the word problem. I'm told that Mrs. Smith used 3/8 of a bag of flour to bake cakes and 1/5 of the remainder to bake biscuits. So I can't show 1/5 yet because that's of the remainder. I first have to show that Miss Smith used 3/8 of the bag of flour. So I'll draw a bar, and to show 3/8, I'll break it up into 8 parts, and I can label 3 of them cakes. That's what she used to bake the cakes. Then I can show 1/5 of the remainder that was used to bake biscuits. This is the remainder. All the leftover units are the remainder. And I'm told that 1/5 of them were used to bake biscuits. And here I have 5 units left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to show 1/5, 1 out of 5, I just need to put a bracket underneath one of those units. That's the biscuits, which we'll figure out what that fraction is in just a moment. Now I want to find out what fraction of the flour was used altogether. Well, she used the flour to make cakes and biscuits. So I'm going to put my bracket with my question mark right here. Now let's solve. If you look at the bar model, and if you drew it out as I did, you'll see that 1 unit out of a total of 8 units was used on the biscuits. So that means that the biscuits are 1/8 of the total, 1/8 of the flour. Now, if you showed this bar model differently, if you didn't show it all in one bar, you maybe didn't realize just from looking at it that 1 remainder unit is 1/8. Maybe you drew an arrow coming down here and then you drew the remainder bar and broke it up into 5 pieces. Now, you don't need to do that because it was already broken up into 5 pieces. But if you did that, maybe you found the biscuits by multiplying 5/8, which is the remainder, times 1/5. That would be finding 1/5 of the remainder. You would have been able to cross cancel 1 and 1 there. And when you multiplied your numerators and denominators, you would have gotten 1/8. So it would have just been an extra step that you didn't need to do because if you look at the bar, you can see that it is 1/8. So I didn't do step 1 there because many of you won't have that step, but maybe 1 or 2 of you decided to do it that way, and that's okay. So the biscuits used 1/8 of the flour. The cakes, we're told, used 3/8 of the flour. So to find out how much she used altogether, we need to add 1/8 plus 3/8, which equals 4/8. We now need to simplify that. Since they're both even, I can divide both by 4 in this case, and it would be 1/2. So she used 1/2 of the flour altogether. Problem 14. Mr. Venezia sold 1/3 of his eggs in the morning and 1/4 in the afternoon. He had 320 eggs left. How many eggs did he have at first? He had blank eggs at first. The first piece of information given in this word problem is Mr. Venezia sold 1/3 of his eggs in the morning and 1/4 in the afternoon. So he sells 1/3 and 1/4 of the eggs that day. In order to show both of these fractions on one bar, we need to create an equivalent fraction. So 3 and 4, which are in the denominators, can both become 12. So I'm going to create an equivalent fraction here to the side. 1/3 is the same as 4/12. That's what he sold in the morning. 1/4 is the same as 3/12. That's what he sold in the afternoon. Now that I have 1/3 and 1/4 written as equivalent fractions with 12 as the denominator, now I can show both on the same bar. So I'm going to draw a bar and I'm going to break it up into 12 parts. 4 of those parts are what he sold in the morning. 3 of those parts are what he sold in the afternoon. It then tells me that he had 320 eggs left, and we want to know how many he had at first. So that means how many in all. I can solve this in 2 steps. First, I need to find out how much each unit is. Since I know that 5 units equals 320, I can divide to find 1 unit. 320 divided by 5 equals 64. So that's 1 unit. Now there are a total of 12 units and they're all equal. So I can find the total, or how many eggs he had at first, by multiplying 64 times 12. If you multiplied that correctly, you would have gotten 768. So he had 768 eggs at first. On to problem 15, which was a ratio problem. The ratio of the number of female members to the number of male members in a club is 3 to 5. If there are 48 female members, how many members are there altogether? There are blank members altogether. And remember, ratio is a comparison. Therefore, it's always going to be a comparison model. In this case, I'm comparing females to males. Since female members was listed first, that's going to correspond with the first number in the ratio, 3. Male members was listed second, so it corresponds with the second number in the ratio, 5. Since it's ratio, we compare them using equal units. Every unit is exactly the same as all the rest in the bar model. Next, they tell me that there are 48 female members, or they say if there are 48 female members, how many members are there altogether? So I've labeled the female members and I put a question mark off to the side to show the total. I can solve this problem in 2 steps. First, I have to find 1 unit. If there are 48 females and I have 3 units, I can find 1 unit by dividing 48 by 3. 48 divided by 3 is 16. That means that each unit is 16. I have 3 female units and 5 male units for a total of 8 units. So my second step is going to be to multiply 16 times 8. 16 times 8 equals 128. That means that there are 128 members altogether.